Hello, 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 hello. Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is another astrology reading. Today I'm going to do Uranus in Taurus in retrograde. So Uranus in Taurus in retrograde is really important because it talks about everything that has to deal with our individual freedom, which is characterized by Uranus. And you have Taurus, which deals with the second house, and things that are Taurus themes have to do with self-value, both internal self-confidence and external value, meaning your financial worth. And we're going to tie that all together and what it means when something goes into retrograde, because Uranus in Taurus is going into retrograde May 15th, and it's really, really, really super important that you understand a few concepts before it does, or you might feel like, what's going on? And then we're going to do a Moonology card reading of this. I love using this Moonology Oracle deck, especially when it comes to astrology, because I think it's so fitting. It's the same type of energetic life force that communicates with us. So, as you can see, I have some yellow calcite and I have some blue kyanite. And I have been really, really interested in this blue kyanite because I've been wanting to focus on more stones that have to do with the third eye. And you can use this for any of your chakras, but this is a nice third eye throat chakra stone, and I'll actually talk more about this. And thank you to your donations to our channel, because that's how I was able to get this stone. So I'm really excited about it. So let's just start by I'm going to shuffle the deck and I'm going to explain to you about Uranus and Taurus. Okay. So Uranus has everything to do with our individual freedom. The next planet out would be Neptune, and Neptune has to do with our generational freedom, so the freedom that we feel as a group. So Uranus is about this individual freedom and feeling maybe like we're being held back in a sense. We're being held back for things, and we're looking for this freedom. And so it has been in Aries for, let's see, how many years? I believe 8 or 9 years it's been in Aries. And when it's in Aries, what actually came up for us throughout life is that you saw really the climax, or the mountaintop, the peak of reality TV. You saw a lot of things being focused on, the self. Aries is number one, the self, the individual. You really saw YouTube take off. You saw Instagram. You saw these things in which people are really focusing on the self, because that's where the freedom was found. But now it's actually time to start moving in to the second house, to Taurus. And it's less about the self and more about self-value. Okay, so that's internal and external. So that's self-esteem, self-confidence, also financial stability. So, a theme in Aries is putting things on credit or paying things off, whereas Taurus is more about you have to do less with more. You have to create realistic platforms in which you can go forward and feel like you have a strong foundation in which nothing, no financial situation or no, crazy thing that happens in life can tip you over. And so I'm going to give you a little bit of background. So the last time that we had this major influence of Uranus going into Taurus, specifically into retrograde, was 1934. Okay, you history buffs out there, what happened around that time? You guessed it, the stock market crashed. Oh gosh. So I'm not saying it to get you scared, because we've already learned those lessons. Oops, gotta get my shuffling together. We've already learned those lessons, so we're going to be learning some different lessons. But what did it usher in? It ushered in the era of the Great Depression. And if you've ever come across documentaries or have actually met people that could have even been in your family that lived during the time of the Great Depression, you might notice that they embody certain values. Extremely hardworking, living within their means, making sure that they have not just a rainy day fund, but they have been steadily, consistently, stacking up their nest egg, or their little what do squirrels have for the winter? Oh, my analogies are off. your winter storage, as to say. And what we learned about that moment is that prior to that stock market crash and the Great Depression, Uranus was in Aries, and it actually was the rise of the credit card. So it's the first time that people were able to buy things on credit. And so what was happening? It's the first time people were buying things on credit. There was really no concept of like paying things back. It was like really people were doing it in good faith, like they thought they were going to pay it back. But as you know, with credit card debt, it's not easy at all. Let me tell you, it can just, jump up on you. And so what happened when when Uranus went into Taurus and it went into retrograde, that's when all that stuff that had been happening in Aries, where it showed up. And what did you see? You saw that people lost everything, that, they were going to the banks, they couldn't get their money out. And that's what actually required the banks to start backing money. So when you put your money in the banks, because people were so afraid after that time to put their money back in the banks, because during that era, when everything fell, they weren't able to get their money out. So now it's back. So it's federally back. So you don't have to worry about you not being able to get your money out of the banks. So I just pulled our cards right here. Okay, and so what does it mean for us now? So what's some themes that are going to come up for us now in this Uranus in Taurus and retrograde? Remember, it's May 15th. And so for us, we really felt this coming in. The first thing that we knew that we were going into this Taurus energy was Brexit. Now, Brexit, and I'm not trying to be political. I'm simply trying to say that it kind of represented this false sense of power. So, however they want to navigate, their region, people can vote on it. They can do whatever they want to do. But there was also this interesting narrative going around. I didn't know if you all noticed it. It was very xenophobic. It was this idea that these immigrants, whomever the immigrants are coming in and stealing jobs and doing this, and that. And we definitely have that rhetoric going on in the U.S. all the time. And it's used often to be discriminatory against people, to be prejudiced, to blame certain things, when at the same time, these are the same individuals coming into economies working below wage and not being able to utilize all the services that maybe someone who is a citizen is able to utilize. Or maybe these people are also citizens, and it's just because people are perceiving that they're coming from a different culture, that they're being prejudiced against them. Anyway, this idea and this kind of looming false sense of power really kind of was stirring around in that Brexit pot. And so when Brexit was announced, what do we remember? We remember a huge drop in the trust of how we felt about the UK in general. And what I'm saying is that when you look at flights, so flights from the US to, if you want to go into London or something like that, you might have noticed that they significantly dropped. I mean, like, if you wanted to get a flight, you should have got your flight right then and there, because it was significantly cheaper. The price of the pound quickly fell at that moment too, and it stabilized. So if you look at it now, it's higher than the US dollar again, but it's stabilized. But it was giving us this kind of little glimpse into what we're going to learn during this Uranus and Taurus in retrograde cycle. What's another theme that came up? Okay, so we were talking about the finance industry, and there's been this looming talk about, doing of reforming the banking industry. And so what's been coming up? I'm just giving you a chance to speak. So cryptocurrency is going to be a big theme. I think from the way that it's looking like to me, it's more of like people are going to be more used to using cryptocurrency. You might notice that you can actually find some Bitcoin ATMs, that, certain apps like Cash App, where, you're paying people like Venmo, but you can actually take that currency and you can convert it into Bitcoins. I think during this period, we're going to see a cryptocurrency becoming more and more accepted. It already is accepted. And the rise of cryptocurrency actually created a lot of different types of cryptocurrency. And so I think that we're going to have a much more stabilization of the cryptocurrency that we feel comfortable using. And there's going to be some more stability, because my understanding is when cryptocurrency first came out, people were walking around with this cryptocurrency on their hard drives. And if you lost your hard drive, there goes all of your money. So now things are, to my understanding, a bit more secure of how people are able to, hold their bank account or their pocketbooks. And so that's an important theme as well. And here is, I cannot emphasize this theme enough. Personal debt. You need to get out of debt. If you got credit cards, if you have student loans, if you have any kind of loans, anything, any kind of debt, medical debt, whatever it is, you need to do whatever you need to do to create an action plan to get yourself out of debt. Because the more you put it off, the more, when it goes into retrograde, it's going to hit you like a ton of bricks. It just is. That's just the nature of this Uranus retrograde in Taurus based off of history. And what it's doing is it's giving you the opportunity to do more with less. As soon as you get your finances together, then you start to build things up realistically. So you're no longer dreaming that you're going to make $1 million. You're going to go ahead and see a financial consultant. You're going to work with your retirement, advisor, and you're going to have a realistic plan. You're going to say, you know what? I may not be able to do this in a year, or you might be able to, I don't know what your situation is, but you can definitely do it in 30 years. And what amount of money should you be storing away each paycheck, each month to get you there? Because when you're saving money, the way that compound interest works is that the longer time you have, the more money you're going to make. So if you have 30 years and you're saving, $5 a month. Of course, if you want to make $1 million, you're going to have to be putting away more than $5, but you're putting away $5 a month. If you allow that to have compound interest over those 30 years, if you had taken $10 and shortened it, by, 20 years, or let's see, 15 years. Look, math is not my strong suit, and I'm trying to create an analogy. You might notice that you'll have less money. It's only because you've had less time for your interest to compound. And so this is the time to seek out, debt specialists, financial advisors, retirement advisors. And if you have this at your job, perhaps you have somebody who can be devoted to doing this for you. So I'm going to pull these cards now. Now we know it's all about that money. Ooh, one more thing, self-worth. Now, what's really been coming up for people, I've noticed over the past couple of years, is this really like high intensity, high stress. You've seen a lot of mental health awareness. You've seen a lot of anxiety. It's been this big stress test. And I'm saying all of this to say is that when Uranus goes into Taurus, it's going to want to activate your true self-value. So if you have low self-value, low self-esteem, low self-worth, it's going to feel really difficult for you. But if you have high self-esteem, high self-value, high self-worth, it's going to feel really good. And the reason why it's important to find what that is for you is because it's giving you the opportunity to root down in realistic things. So it's no longer about you used to be able to say that you were going to do this or you were going to do that. Now it's about what you're actually doing, what you're building. You know, you're building it brick by brick by brick by brick. It gets to the point where you have so much belief in yourself that when you hear a naysayer, or when you hear somebody who says something different or something opposing, it's like wind against a brick house. It's not going to fall over. So at the core of it, in the crux, it's to make you stronger. So that's why you gotta do more with less. You gotta really pare down. That's people, situations, specifically financial situations, things that are taking up too much emotional space, creating strong emotional boundaries. Let it all go. Get to the core and the crux of who you are and what you need to be doing, and build that brick by brick by brick, day by day by day. You might notice that you're spending, 15 minutes in the beginning of your passion just doing it day by day, and you're like, look, I'm going to challenge myself to do this for 15 minutes every day for 90 days. And then you might have developed something really awesome, and you start to get to things to be more of a habit instead of going into things head on, and you want to spend 15 hours a day doing one thing, and then you get burnt out really quick. No, this Taurus energy is slow and steady wins the race. So let me go ahead and pull these cards. I got so excited for our intuition. Ooh. So I'm going to flip these cards over. Okay. So I'm seeing quite a few cards upside down. Let's see. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. So half the cards are upside down and half the cards are right side up. 6 card spread. I call this a 5 card spread. 6 card spread. And so I'm going to tell you what we have here. So we have disseminating moon. Take time to breathe out. Just take a breath. Exhale. So this is a time where you're letting go. That's exactly what I was just talking about. You gotta let it go. Let it go. Let it go. New moon in Aries. Ooh. It's time to take action. So that means when I was talking about talking to that financial consultant, that retirement advisor, a debt specialist, you got to start planning here. You got to put your energy there. Or, if you're trying to fund your dream, this is the time that you start putting money away every month into, maybe a high interest savings account. A lot of online savings accounts have higher interest, or you might want to put something in a CD so you can't touch it. When it means believing in the impossible, it means you've got to weather this storm. You can do it. You literally can do this. But you got to build it brick by brick, like I was just talking about. Just build it brick by brick by brick. Believe in the possible. Forget when people are saying no, choose a realistic plan. Because a lot of times, if we're not realistic about something, then of course we're not going to be able to make it happen. You're not, executing the things you should. But if you've got your ducks in a row, everything's together, and you're just experiencing negative self-talk or confidence, or people are really naysaying around you, then this is the time you got to believe in this impossible, y'all. So the next row, we have a new moon in Virgo, a time to give rather than take. Ooh, I like that. So when Uranus was in Aries, it was about me. Okay, me. Now, this Taurus energy is talking about giving, but in a sense of Taurus in the second house really is talking about compassion, talking about love. So you're going to have to give yourself some more compassion. Since it's a second house theme, it means that it's going to rotate around self-confidence, patience, self-love. So you're going to have to give some more self-love than needing to feel like you got to get this energy from around you, looking for the external explanations for, what makes sense to you. Put that down. And so, balsamic moon, a time for healing, y'all. this is also a card that comes up on our channel often. It's just really just go inside, have that space, and the ultimate healing is self-love and self-compassion. So it really goes hand in hand with that new moon in Virgo. Okay. And for our last card for Uranus, Taurus, and retrograde that we're going to learn about, it says full moon in Cancer, a personal issue reaches resolution. Now, what's important about Cancer showing up for us is that Cancer is in water sign. Come on. I want you all to be able to see it. Cancer is a water sign and Taurus is an earth sign. So they are astrological or elemental opposites. That means when things are out of whack and we need to focus on more earth themes, our emotions start to go, ooh, especially if we have water in our chart. Because we're used to navigating things from the perspective of how we feel, moving that emotional energy through things, how something feels. And Taurus is a time for more physicality. So what have you done? Okay, what can you do? It's less about your feelings. So try to be okay with the fact that you might get your feelings hurt, but it's not because, it's going to create all this chaos, but simply because there's some other lessons. It's not about the feelings right now. It's about you putting that brick down, brick down, brick down. If you got to do it with some tears in your eyes, do it, because you got some wonderful things coming in front of you. And it says personal issues have been resolved. So that's specifically talking about that self-confidence, self-healing, self-clarity, self-love. You're going to get to this other side if you do this work. So that is our 6-card spread for Uranus, Taurus, and retrograde. Remember that it goes into retrograde May 15th. And so you're going to start feeling more pressure with those themes that I was talking about. Internally, be careful of your self-confidence. You can get you some blue kyanite. And this can really help you with your intuition and leading in the healing process. And you could just use this in your meditation practice, your healing practice. But if you need to come back to this video, feel free to come on back. I, of course, am going to do in specific Uranus and Taurus retrograde healing video specifically for these themes and working with this calcite and this blue kyanite in order to free us and take us through this period, being receptive and being loving. So thank you for tuning in, and as always, continue to love yourself, being compassionate towards yourself, and I cannot wait to see these beautiful gifts you got going on. So until next time.